Welcome to Caching Waves. This is an Elliott Wave update for a basic attention token. Now, one issue with my charting is I don't have access to all this information. I only have access to around 2020 because I only have access to what they suggest, which is the Binance chart. You can see it doesn't go all the way back. So I'm starting from this pivot low over here. And that makes it difficult because I can see previous price history in three-wave moves, but I can't measure them. So what I have to do is, to the all-time high, I have to consider it one of two labelings, which is a wave 1 or a wave A. But either way, once we get a completed correction to the downside, we are expecting the next move to the upside. That's the important thing. So we'll have to track in real time our wave counts. So I'm going to start from the all-time high, looking for a completed correction, have our pivot low at 8 cents. So from our all-time high, I have this as a diagonal wave A, B, C, 5 waves down in our C. See, we just came by past the 1-to-1. I then have a 5-wave move down for an A flat, expanded flat here for our B wave, looking for 5 waves down to complete, which might be complete. So this second zigzag got extended out in time quite a bit. Last video we were looking for this area actually to hold. That was quite a long time ago, and obviously it didn't. It made a triangle and then went to the downside. A couple of them failed like that. I'm curious how H bar is going to hold up here because it is quite a similar pattern. Difference being we ended up making a expanded flat over here, but I'm going to take a look at that one as well, so expect an update. But looking for 5 waves to complete. So basically A, B, C, X, A, B, C. So double zigzag. We are also at the 786 of the move to the upside that I can measure. But I'm not going to put that much weight into that. I'm just having that just to pay attention to, because I imagine most people have access to this chart, so they're doing their analysis off that. So one thing of note, we have not made a new low here above the lowest low, but we have in the expanded flat variety made a new low below the C wave, which is the important part, right? So we can technically be complete here. But the 1-to-1 of A off B is down here at 12.81 cents. But we have reached our minimum requirement, which is the 618. We actually tagged the 786. So just something to keep in mind, we can be technically complete at this level. So what's important is the reaction we get next. So I've tried to analyze this area here for quite the last little bit, and unfortunately the best way it plays out is as a triangle. So the issue with that is triangles cannot be in wave twos, right? So I can't call this a 1-2, 1-2. So it has to be a 4th wave or a B wave in some sort of correction. And logically, the only thing that makes sense is we're trying to make a C wave. So that's why I've labeled it this way. But if we do continue down from here, even though it's ugly, the way I would label it, you can see our 3rd wave is longer than wave 1. So I would actually expect an extension here in our 5th, since our 3rd wave was not extended. Come down to that 1-to-1 and go with that. Because remember, we usually get 1 wave extended. We don't have to, but if we do come down from here, I'd probably consider this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that, and then reverse. But we're getting close, which is nice. So either you believe this coin's going to 0, or we're most likely going to get a pivot soon. Okay, so we'll talk about that area just to show you. You can see we didn't get overlap between the 1 and the 4. It's just very difficult to see this as anything else but three-wave patterns, right? I was trying to count some 1-2s to the downside, but I just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. The only way I could do it was if this was a 1-2 here within a third. This would be our 1, 2, 3. We get like a running flat here, so we don't overlap, and that's our fourth, and that's our fifth. So we'd have a 1, 2, 1, 2. But then you have the issue here. That's only 3 waves, all right? So this counts best as a triangle, and triangles cannot be in wave 2s. So, and it doesn't work as a WXY triangle either. I tried that. It doesn't work. There's not enough waves in the Y for the triangle. As you go WX, you'd be looking for A, B, and you can see it's basically a double top. I guess it technically works, but very, very, very low probability. So as of right now, I call this 4 waves. Fifth could be complete, or wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 within a fifth. Excuse me. So for all intensive purposes, let's say the fifth is in. What would we expect to happen here? Well, in that case, we want to hold that previous low. We mark that off at 14.97 cents. And this is having issues just like previous coins, where we're not getting ideal targets, but I can count a 5 wave. I think we got a 382. Yep, 618. These can happen on trend changes where we don't get the 1.618 for our third wave. We actually pull back at like the 1.236 or 382 and the 1.618 for the fifth. So we did not hit ideal targets, but we do have a completed wave count. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5 waves up here for our third, WXY for our fourth, spike up for our fifth. So we do technically have a completed 5-wave impulse, although not the prettiest. You can see we then came out of our pitchfork, which indicates to us that the wave is potentially over. We got a 5-wave move for an A, B wave complex correction, most likely A, B, C, X, A, B, C. And looking for a C wave. Equal length, A equals C, is at 1716, which also lines up between the 50 and the 618 of this larger wave 1. So quite a lot of confluence in that perfect area. We look for a wave 2 to complete. We want to hold above 16.07, don't want to pass the 786. But you can see we got a lot of confluence in that zone. Now I also took this wave 1 and 2, put on our extensions. Our third wave, we usually look for the 1.618, but we can also extend here to the 2.618, get a third wave extension, fourth, fifth, come to that 1-to-1. So just tracking this. Now, early indications that we're still in a B wave is if we overlap with wave 1. Because say we do this and we start coming up like this, chances are we're still in this B wave. And we're just getting a larger correction before we make that C wave. So just keep that in mind. That's where my head immediately goes. If we don't make a new low, we stay internal to this wave and we overlap with wave 1. So looking for these 5 waves and then very interested, but I'm not just going to buy this because there's that scenario where we have that larger move to the downside and we get an extended wave down to like 12 cents. And all I would change for the labeling there, remember we have a 535 in that scenario, which can also be labeled as a 1-2, 1-2. So we'd get our 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. That's what that would look like if we need to extend on that 5th wave I showed you. So what do you do with that information? Well, you've got two options. You can try and take a chance on that. You know you're going for a very high move and just put this much risk on. I risk 1% personally, not financial advice, just what I do. I prefer to risk an amount that builds your account slowly, but you're never really at risk of busting. And it doesn't affect you mentally if you lose a trade. It's just on to the next trade, right? Pretty general knowledge. Some people risk 1%, some risk as much as 5%. It kind of depends on your style. But there's one scenario. That's your risk. Stop at 14.97. If you just want to buy and don't forget about it, let one thing play out and go from there. Or what I prefer to do, if you're more active, is say we get this extension to the 2.618, our fourth, fifth, like this. We have a completed count to our 1-to-1 right between the 50 and the 618. And then we start seeing volume come in, and we see a nice 5-wave move and a nice correction. First, I want to see us breach this fourth wave within the C wave, get a nice clean 5-wave count, pull our retracement on the micro all the way down to like the 15-minute, zoom right in, and try and buy this 50 in the 618. And rather than my stop being all the way to that low, I'm trying to get the exact pivot low. So that's how I prefer to do it. It just gives me the most position size in the trade, because you can see my risk is only that much if I wait for that setup rather than, say we get the 1-to-1, rather than that much. So you can see I can get probably about 4 times the position size, right, on that setup. That's why I do that. But you obviously have to be more active, paying attention, following the waves. But obviously it's worth the tracking, because if the trade works out, you make significantly more. All right, guys, so that's what I'm looking for, either an ABC correction or a 1-2-1-2, and we get our 3-4-5 and come to that 1-to-1 on a larger degree and get an extended fifth. So we'll see which one we get, but there is a possibility we're complete. We do have a completed 5-wave count, and we do have a reasonable setup. But I'm personally waiting for the reaction if we hit this target. All right, guys, that's it for Basic Attention Token. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.